Do you remember the sheet I gave you with all the different types of functions? There it is right here. This one right here says parent functions. Okay. See, you should have had one. If it's not in your binder, then you might want to check back there in that box because I should have given those to everybody. That function sheet will help you in a pinch because it's got all these different types of functions that we can look at. Okay. We're really only going to focus on the top two rows, but it will help you. Example 1, you have to know that if a function looks like a v, that it's an absolute value function. Okay? Absolute value function. If it is a v, or if it's a downturned v, it's an absolute value function. Okay? If we had to determine the domain and range for this, think about all the x values. For this particular function, what would be all of the x values that would encompass this, all reals? And you can put that double R thing. Okay, that's totally fine. Just write that double R thing. But a range is a little bit different because for this particular function, the lowest, and I'm going to call it the vertex for lack of a better word, the vertex of this function is at what ordered pair? -3, 0. Now, range has to do with what values? The y's. So y is going to be what? Because we're going to write our range 3 different ways. Greater than or equal to 0. And then we're going to write it in interval notation, so it would be bracket or parentheses. Bracket 0 to positive infinity, parentheses. And then I would write it as a compound inequality. So it would be 0 is less than or equal to y, which is less than positive infinity. You guys agree with that? Okay. Facile, difficile. Facile. 2, we got this. We totally got this. Hey, determine what kind of function it is, folks. Quadratic. How'd you know? Because it's a parabola. What's my domain going to be? All reals. My range. Okay, find that vertex. It's a min at 2, 0. Do you guys agree with that? So the first way I would write my range would be y is greater than or equal to 0, or interval notation, 0, comma, positive infinity, yes? And then write it as a compound inequality. 0's less than or equal to y, which is less than positive infinity. You guys cool with that? So the absolute value function is a whole lot like the quadratic, isn't it? As far as domain and range, they're a whole lot alike. Yes, sir? Somebody answer that question for him. You're talking about in the compound inequality. All right, so let's look at this compound inequality. Why is the first one have a line underneath and the second one does not? Answer that for him. Because you can never touch infinity. You think you're going to touch it and it moves away. And you think you're going to touch it again and it keeps on moving. Okay? You can never include it. What about 3? Ooh, now is when you need to refer to your... Now, what is this equation? It kind of looks, it's a straight line. But it's y equals 2, right? Now, refer to that worksheet. that sheet that I gave you. What kind of special function is this? If you have a horizontal line, this is called, it is a line. Its slope is clearly 0. There is no slope, right? Because it's 0. And I could prove that to you, and we could find the slope of 2 points, and I could prove to you that a horizontal line has 0 slope. But if we named it with its best name would be a constant function. What is a constant in math? It's a number. It is a number, right? It's just a plain old number. Well, what's our plain old number for this? 2, plain old 2, okay? Let's talk about domain and range. Domain, that's easy. What's it going to be? Do you guys agree, all reals? Yeah? I want you to ponder, think about this. What's every single value of y? 2. So how do I write it? You write a couple, you write y equals 2. Or could I write, like the fancy brackets, 2? Because it's going to be only that value of 2. If I were to plot every single point on that line, it would be -3, 2, -2, 2, -1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. And I could go on and on and on. And how annoying would that be? Be fun for me, not for you. Constant function, okay? What about example 4? Clearly linear. Domain is what, folks? All reals, and the range, all reals. Facile, difficile. This is what you might see on Thursday for your quiz. That's it. Pardon? No, Thursday, because today's Tuesday. See, I was thinking today's Monday. Today's really Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. Yes? Be able to name the first 2 and a half. Through the exponential. The first 2 rows with the exponential, you ought to be able to look at the functions and tell me what they are. Okay? And I can tell you right now, I'm not really going to be paying any attention to cube root, nor am I going to be paying attention for you to specifically say cubic function. I will be looking for a polynomial function of odd degree. Okay? That's what I'm looking for. Okay? All right. Ready to move on? Any questions about this slide? Nope? All right. Moving on. Now we have these functions. Look at the way it's written. Graph f of x, which is equal to, and then it has 2 lines. What the world? Okay? These are called piecewise functions. Because we're looking at pieces of lines, okay? And we're given certain constraints that we have to follow. Certain conditions have to be met. We have to follow certain directions for each specific line, okay? We got to graph this thing. We got to graph the first one. This is where colored pencils are good things, or pencils or markers or whatever. But if I wanted to graph x minus 1, then if you remember from graphing lines, the first thing I have to graph is my y-intercept. Okay? I'm looking at this first line, and I'm going to put a bullet there beside it. in red because it's going to be my red line. What is my y-intercept if my function is x minus 1? Negative 1. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to plot my y-intercept. And from that y-intercept, I'm going to plot my rise over run. What is my slope or my rise over run for that first equation? What's my slope? 1 over 1. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and I'm just going to keep stepping this thing off just for a second. Now, if you'll notice, the tail end of that line says if y is less than or equal to 3, correct? Huh. What does that mean? What? It's going to stop, or is it going to start? It says if x is less than or equal to 3. Well, if I were to go to x equals 3, and I'm going to go to the right 3, then my function is going to start right there, correct? Can I keep these two values above the point that I just made real dark? Think about what I said. All right, you're right in shaking your head. This says graph f of x if x minus 1 if x is less than or equal to 3. Folks, can I graph this point up here or this point up here? Kelly, immediately you were going, Why not? Because it says it has to be less than or equal to 3. This x value is what? Greater than 3. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to go, okay, that's got to be gone. And now I'm going to draw this line down where all of my x values are less than or equal to 3. Now I've got to do the same thing for the other one. All right, now I'm going to put it in blue. Okay, this is my blue line. F of x equals negative 1. F of x equals negative 1. Y equals negative 1. What kind of line is that going to be? F of x means nothing but y equals negative 1. What's it going to be? A horizontal line at negative 1. All right, so I'm going to put this in here with the stipulation that I'm going to have to do something with it. Because my constraint says if y is greater than 3. If y is greater than 3. Where does this blue line start? Did I just say y is greater than 3? And it said, I said it like 3 times too, didn't I? That's the letter x, and I'm not hooked on phonics today. Sorry. X is greater than 3. X. So where is my function going to start? At 3. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, which means it's going to get an open or a closed circle. Open circle. What's going to happen to all this blue line to the left? It's not supposed to be there, so what do I have to do to it? I have to erase it carefully or not. Fix my picture. Open circle at 3, and then it's going to the right forever, isn't it? Yes, sir. Because if I rewrite it up here, let me put it in red. It's going to be x minus 1, right? My slope is the coefficient of x. So, Christian, what's my coefficient? It's there, but not there. 1. which is 1 over 1, right? Everybody cool with this? Look at it. Think about what we've done. Have we graphed these lines appropriately, following the constraints that we've been given, yes or no? Yes, you got to have a good eraser. Don't do any of these in ink unless you're doing them on the smartboard. Then we have a good eraser. Mariah, don't do your homework on the smartboard, okay? Domain and range. Now let's think about it. It's going to pay to have graph paper. Do my lines need to be pretty right on and precise? Yeah, a ruler would be good. I don't have any, no. It's just a math class. Why would I have rulers? We don't have enough to go around. Yes, question. Domain and range. Ready for domain and range? All right, let's look at it. Domain. Are we looking at both lines together, or are we looking at them separately? We got to look at the big picture. We got to look at them together, okay? Think big picture. Think forest. Because you got to look at everything, okay? Now I've got to stand back and I got to look at this. Because for my domain, I want to concentrate on which values? My x values, okay? So I'm back here and I'm looking. What's it going to be, Q? Why? Because one point ends where the other one begins, yes. Would we include the value 3? Well, yeah, because it's up here. Doesn't matter that it's not included there. It is included here. So it is all reals. Very good. Look at the range. I have to stand back. Come all the way back to the classroom because it's a mile away. Y values. How low can you go? How low does this go? It goes all the way down to negative infinity, right? Okay. How high does it go? I see values in between 2 and 3. What about, I can't just say, now keep in mind we're talking y's, right? So we're looking this far. That's not good to use that color because you can't see it. Well, it's definitely going up to -1, would you agree? Is it also going to 0? Is it also going to, what is that value? 1? Positive 1? I'm thinking y values. What's the highest possible y value? 2. Now, where am I getting 2 from? What's this ordered pair right here, folks? 3, 2. Ah, there's my 2. So, how would I write my range? My range is going, now I'm going to write it first. Y is less than or equal to 2. Now interval notation, which would be negative infinity to positive 2. And now compound inequality, which is going to be compound inequality. Negative infinity less than y less than or equal to 2. Right on? What do you think? It is kind of weird, isn't it? We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you have to at least be able to look at it and go, weirdness. But I'm all right with that. You have to be okay with a little weird. Yep, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Is this red line still there?
Oh, wait, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the red line.
The red line is moved over? Then you would have to show a gap between it. I'm not going to show you that in Algebra 2 because that's something that we would go over later. Okay? Not necessary for me to go over that right now. When we move on, you have to show a gap using a special type of interval notation, showing a union or a non-union. We're not doing that in Algebra 2, okay? But there's a way to do it. Other questions? Don't mean to put you off, but it's something we don't need to do right now. What if the blue line had a closed circle? Then it just would have a closed circle. It would just be included. No, because it's already up here included. Yeah. Okay? Let's look at our next example. I want you to do this one yourself. I want you to graph each of these using the constraints given. First line, try to do that in one color. Do your second one in another. I've got colored pencils back there if you would like to use them. You don't have to. But see what you can do with that. We go. So I'm going to look at the first equation with green line. First thing I'm going to plot is my y-intercept, which is at 1. And from that point, I'm going to go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. I'm also able to go from the y-intercept down to left 1, down to left 1. Why is that? No, it's not just because. Because a positive slope is also equal to a negative divided by a negative, isn't it? Okay, so that's what allows me to go down and left, down and left. Now, I just have my dots there because I can only fill this in from where to where. I need to go wherever my dot is at x equals -1, which is here. Will that be an open or a closed circle? Open circle. And I'm going to very carefully, without a ruler, draw an extremely straight line. Okay? Now, this is so much easier with a ruler. I've got to take care of f of x is equal to -3, which is going to be a horizontal line at -3. Do you guys agree with that? Okay? But, 1, 2, 3. Is that right? No, why not? Because it says if x is less than or equal to -1. So I'm going to have a closed circle at -1, where x is -1. And what am I going to do with all of this if I have a pen? I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to use an eraser because it's going to look a whole lot better. How about that? How many of you have your graphs that look like that right there? Excellent, y'all. High five in the air. Okay, now, domain. Domain, easy or difficult? Why? Because it's all reals. We love domain, don't we? Range. Holy moly. There's a gap in our values of our y's. Do you guys agree? Where's the gap that we cannot take into account? It's this little space from here to here, right? I just thought of something so stupid. Go ahead.
Can we just do the range for that one line that goes on and then put
Let's look at it. What is the lowest y value we have? Our lowest y value is -3. Do you guys agree with that? So we can put y equals -3 and Y is also what? Greater than -1. Why is it a greater than and not a greater than or equal to? Because it's an open circle. Now, how else can we write this? This is totally acceptable. If we were to put this in interval notation, we would have to write it this way, folks, which is just a little weird because you've not seen it before. I would put fancy brackets 3. Union. It is not a typical U. It is the union symbol, which means and, okay? Union of two sets, and. I am Mr. and Mrs. my man, okay? So it's a union, which means and. Now, how would I represent the rest of that? Like normal. It would be a parentheses, -1 to what? Positive infinity with a parentheses. I can't imagine y'all seeing it in interval notation. If we do, when we get to just hardcore studying for the SOL, then we will focus on it. But for me, this right here, and if it's different, I'll find out and I'll let you know tomorrow. Question. Bracket where? -1. No, it's not included because it's an open circle. And we're thinking, if I were talking X values, then it would be. But I'm talking Y values, and there's that gap between 3 and that actual value, -1. Okay? How many of you had it graphed correctly? Hands up. How many of you had the domain correct? That's good. Those of you, if you didn't, I don't know why you don't have your hands up. If it's about graphing a line, this is it's a line from Algebra 1, okay? You need to get familiar with it, and you need to get comfortable with that again. Domain and range ought to be, at this point, a piece of cake for you. It makes us bend our brain in half a little, but it ought to be getting a little bit easier and a little bit easier every day. Let's look at the next one. Any questions before I move on? Any questions at all? Yes, ma'am. The constraints that I'm given. Did you see how I stepped it off the green line and I started with the y-intercept at 1, and then I went up to right 1, up to, and then I just put dots there. Then I referred back to my constraints, and I said, all right, this line can only be from -1 on. So I can't graph anything below that x, where x is -1. So that's why I had to do open circle going up that way. It's based upon the constraints that you're given. Okay? Any others? Any other questions? Look at another one. We don't have to graph it. It's graphed for us. Hey, writing. This is backwards from what you were just doing. What is this first? Let's look and make sure it's in the correct. F of x. F of x is equal to that fancy bracket. And I'm going to call this as my green function. And this is my red function down here, okay? What's the green function? What's that top line going to be, y'all? It should be y equals what? 1. Do you guys agree with that? Now, if I have f of x is equal to, that's like me having y equals. So it would be 1 if x what? Greater than or equal to 2. Does everybody see what I'm doing? Now we're going backwards from what we had before. Everybody with me, yes or no? Some of you just complete blank stares. Here's what you're not going to do. Okay, and I say this to you with love. You're not going to line up 10 deep at my desk and wait for me to tell you whether you have it right or wrong. you're going to work on this yourselves and help each other, okay? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got this, okay? And I say that with love. I want to help you, but you need to help yourselves first, okay? What's the next one? This is just about writing linear equations, folks. If you had to write this equation for the red line, what's your y-intercept? Your y-intercept is 1, 2, 3, -4. So it's going to be something minus 4. What's the slope of that line? Count the rise over run. It's up 2 over 2, which is 2 over 2. How can I make that look better? Just put x minus 4, can I? You guys seeing what I'm doing here, yes or no? All right. So we've got the equation x minus 4 if, don't say anything out loud, x is greater than, less than. Is it going to have a line under it? Is it going to be less than or equal to? Why is it plain old less than? It's an open circle, so if x is less than, what value? 2. What is that x value? If you had to put that as an ordered pair, wouldn't it be 2, -2? Right? What are you thinking? It's just what we did a while ago, but backwards. Just backwards, okay? Hey, what's the domain for this? All reals? What's the range? Let's go the bottom line first. What's the bottom line? Y is what? What about 2? What's the y value? -2. So y is going to be less than -2 and y equals 1. Because that provides for, that allows for that gap in between the bottom line and the top line. Folks, you got to stare and compare this. You got to look at this. You got to think about this. You got to think through every single step. Okay? Questions? No, I'm not even going to, don't even worry about that. No, I'm going to check on that. I can't imagine you doing that, but I will check, and if you do, I'll tell you for sure tomorrow. Questions on this one at all? Hey, do this one yourselves. All right, f of x is equal to, let's go with, I'm going to have red and green. All right, red line, my red line. What's the equation for my red line? Y equals 7, or just plain old 7, if x what? Greater than or equal to -4. How many of you had that? Excellent, y'all. Very, very good. Very good. What about the next one? Because what can we not see on this graph the way it's drawn right now? The y-intercept. What do? You find the slope, and then you count to find the y-intercept. It obviously has what kind of a slope? A positive or a negative? It obviously has a positive slope. So if you go from the x-intercept to that dot, and then you can check it to make sure, the slope is what? 2 over 1, isn't it? All right, I'm going to just put my thoughts right here. And then I'm going to step up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1. Well, I'll be daggone, what's my y-intercept? 10. So how can I clean up 2 over 1x plus 10? 2x plus 10. If x is what? If x is less than what? Negative 4, isn't it? Isn't it negative 4? If x is less than, right, if x is less than negative 4, correct? How many of you had that one correct? Very good. Why is it not greater than? Okay, good, attaboy. Now, you ready? Domain and range. Domain, what is it, folks? All reals, negative infinity to positive infinity. Range, ooh, let's go with the bottom line first. Y is less than 2 and y equals 7. How many of you got that? Look at y'all. High five. Oh, punch in the face. There you go, in a good way. Because a punch in the face can be in a good, no, it can't. Questions? All right, what do we do? Homework. Here we go. I'm not. Workbook page. I want you to look at page 23 in your workbook. I want you to do 1, 3, 4, and then 8. And folks, if you're unsure of how to graph these, what should you go to graph and no, you do not go to Google. You go to Google or YouTube, but you don't have to. For number 8, folks, put that in your graphing calculator. And let me show you what's going to happen. Rachel, do you mind going to the, whatever it is? Hold on. You know you're going to have to turn this on for me, right? If I can get it open. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Okay. Thank you. Hey, look right here, folks. If you will look at the same page, what was it, 23? And you look at number 7, because that's an absolute value function as well. Number 7 is y equals 2 absolute value of x, yes? Y'all with me? How do you find this? Folks, put in your calculator 2, math, go over to number, and the absolute value is the first option. So hit enter, and then put your x and close your parentheses. And even if you don't know how to graph this on paper right off the bat, I mean, we could always go back to the XY chart. Okay, go to math, number, enter for absolute because it's the first option, ABS, X, close the parentheses. You there? No second math, just hit math because you're going to the test menu. Got it? All right, and then hit graph. What's this going to look like? It's going to look like a V. It's just kind of a narrower V, okay? So I want you to sketch that on your graph. Where's the vertex of that function? If you weren't sure, how could you figure it out? Find the minimum value, okay? Isn't there a vertex on there? Hello? minimum. Okay, look at mine. What's it giving me? Scientific notation, so it's almost what value? It's 0. It's the vertex, which is 0, 0. And then graph it from there, folks. That's all. That's all you're doing. Use your graphing calculator, and then do the same thing we've been doing for finding the domain and the range on all 4 of those problems. Ooh, 4 problems. And you're going to use a calculator on number 8. Yeah, the vertex would be 0, 0, the origin. Pardon me? Yeah, just sketch it on there. Yeah. Let me cut this off. Hold on. Does everybody understand what you have to do? Okay, do your 4 problems.